Hi and welcome to the Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all the money, business and stock market tea.
Everyone should experience first class at least once in their lives, and Annie shouldn't miss out just because she can't afford it.
Help me, I'm poor.
But can we start this episode by talking about the Martha Stewart stuff?
I thought you were going to say about my TikTok that I did this morning.
Oh yeah, she did a TikTok.
We're back, baby. We're fucking back. We're talking about the markets. The markets are fucking back. Sorry,
If anyone
if anyone's listening in the car with their children, apologies for my language.
Also, if anyone wants to follow us on TikTok, we've got a stunning 10,000 followers. It's absolutely going off on there. I was just saying to Vic, I think she was born to be a TikTok star. Like, I really think she's so good at the like lip syncy, like almost actor territory. And I don't know what it is, but I think it's because you've
produced me really well.
No, I honestly think you're a bit Gumby. Like as in like there's this sort of underside to you that's like
A bit weird.
Yeah, like in a good way. I honestly don't mean that.
A friend said that to another friend like a while. They're like, I never knew Vic was like such a weirdo.
Yeah, she's super weird.
yeah.
But like I think
thanks.
your sometimes like ability, it's almost like I don't think that many people would have seen that side to you, you know? But for some reason when you go into TikTok mode, I'm like, there she is. We had a high tea yesterday with one of our mentors, business mentors, and we went to the most beautiful hotel. It was like, what was it called?
Sheraton.
The Sheraton. Anyway, it was in the middle of London and we went and met her and her daughter came, which was actually quite cute.
So funny that I was so hungry on my way there that I bought a
know.
scoffed it before this meeting, and then she orders this beautiful high tea, and I was like, I'm so gutted.
You know those things you see in the movies that are like the tiered kind of like, they almost look like different levels of a house kind of, and then they have like sandwiches at the bottom, cakes at the top. I was just absolutely going for it. But anyway, we were talking about the idea of like getting into places or like I think
the Olympics. I think
that's right. She was like, I get in everywhere or something. And we were like, what do you mean? She's like, I've got different approaches to it. You know, I've got my like.
I'm very strategic. You know, I'm very observant. And
she started
navigating
running
the situation.
It was like running through the different approaches. Anyway, her daughter was like, oh, I have to leave. Like she gives me the signal that's like Black Bunny or something.
Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm about to go.
I'm about to do it. And so she's just like, has to duck out. Anyway, it kind of spiraled into being like, God, imagine if
She treats it like a game, like a competition of like, can I do this? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Anyway, we were saying like, God, we're so chicken with that kind of thing. We really need to like step it up. And then we were still talking about the Olympics and how Snoop Dogg was there and how much he was being paid and Martha Stewart. And then she said something like, did you know that she was one of the few women that's been jailed or like sentenced to prison time for inside trading, and I had no idea.
This like, she looks like this like homemaker, like.
Because is she known for cooking
show, and very like.
Quite wholesome?
Wholesome's a good word. Yeah.
Anyway.
And then you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I knew she went to jail. I just kind of didn't really know that story.
I had no idea she went to jail. And then we looked into it about like, you know, what happened and blah, blah, blah. And we were just sort of joking about how, God, she's at the Olympics. How cool would it be to
go and get an interview
with her? Because apparently.
And she was like, do it. Go there.
She's like, get on a train.
Get on a train. And we were like, oh my goodness.
She's like, she's at the Four Seasons. Just go do it. She's like, this is a perfect opportunity to go test the theory. And I was like, actually, it would be quite good content. Imagine if we were like, here we are outside Martha Stewart's hotel room.
Trying to get her on the podcast to talk about her insider trading.
But anyway, Emily, our divine podcast producer's just been looking into like some of the stats around like why she was jailed and what happened. And I just thought it was so fascinating because our mentor LJ was saying, she was like, so many guys do insider trading, but like hardly any of them get jailed for it. And it was just like the fact that they punished her so badly. I'm just having a look at some of the stats. The case revolved around her sale of I'm clone systems. So she had stocks in, it was ages ago, like December 2001. And she sold, was it like 4,000 shares just before the stock price like plummeted. She was in jail for 5 months and home confinement.
She came out of jail and like her profile just like skyrocketed.
Oh, right. So this was actually almost like good for her career.
Yeah, which surprisingly, I mean, it doesn't usually happen like that. But I also think it's like 85 to 90% of those convicted of inside trading are men. But that's representative of the finance industry. Do you know what I mean? It's like it probably would be more 50-50 if there was 50-50 in terms
what
of
I thought was kind of interesting is that apparently it was her broker or someone that gave her the inside trading being like, you know, sell your shares, this is about to happen. I would have thought he'd be the one that goes to jail, not her. You know, like she's the one that sold the stocks, but she didn't really technically.
Yeah, like she has to sell them through her broker, but she benefits from the.
Oh, the broker's the one that sells on her behalf.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
I mean, I don't know in this particular case, but yeah, he probably should have been done as well. He probably got struck off or lost his job or something if he got found out. But it'd be like if we were in cahoots and you worked at a company that was like about to, say, this biotech company, and you were like, Vic, the company's about to put out a really terrible result and the share price is going to tank. And I owned heaps of shares, and you were like, if I give you this tip, will you halve your profits with me?
Oh, so you reckon there's like a bit of that happening?
Yeah, oh, definitely. There was one in Australia. Do you remember Roxy Jacinko?
Yes.
Yeah, her husband got done.
Really?
Yeah, him and his best friend. They worked at different companies, and one was giving inside information to the other, like before economic results were released. It was something around data. They made so much money. They had a like penthouse apartment in Bondi. They had like Mercedes G-Wagons, and like they were stupid in that they were so extravagant and flashy with their winnings, I guess. Yeah, and then they went to jail. The best friend dobbed in the other friend. He was wiretaped.
What?
I know, to get a shorter sentence.
Wait, so like they basically put a little
They went to one friend and were like, hey, if you want a shorter sentence and want to capture your other friend.
Oh my God, what an absolute
I know.
weasel.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you're doing insider trading, it's probably not a shock that they then go and like rat
your
out their
values
friends.
and your ethics aren't that
This
good.
is so interesting. So it was in 2007, 2008.
Yeah. And she documented every day her outfits that she wore to court. And she blew up. Like everyone was like,
it's pretty funny. So she's kind of taking the piss. She
was like, yeah, these are my outfits. She works in PR. So his wife,
she was like, perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
She was probably like, hey babe, can you do some insider trading? So
so that I can get we can get lots of attention.
So we can get some great PR.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's worked because they are one of the most well-known families in Australia now.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. God, I had no idea.
But this is why companies, public companies, anybody in like a senior position or access to like privy information that might actually move the stock price, they have certain windows that they're legally allowed to sell their shares. And it's after everyone knows that information. So say a financial result comes out in July, then from maybe like end of July to end of September is when anyone in the company can sell or buy shares. And then it's closed. So it's not just before a financial result or anything.
Right. What has been happening? What are we talking about today?
Oh, not much. You know, like markets.
Oh my God, there has been a shitload going on, hasn't there? Okay, give us an overview for anyone that's missed what's been going on.
So things kind of started maybe like last Friday, and there was a few financial results on the US stock market that didn't do too well, like Amazon, for example, and people getting a bit like, oh, this is not a good sign. Then come Monday was what they call it, Black Monday. There was like blood on the streets, Monday mayhem. Honestly, the headlines
were
like almost laughable. Like, this is the newspaper's time to be like, woohoo, we got news. Anyway, Japan was the first stock market to crash, quote unquote crash. It was down about 12% in one day.
Did Warren Buffett say anything? Because isn't he quite invested in Japan?
Yeah, no, he hasn't. I mean, he doesn't care about this shit, you know? He's a long-term investor. He's not commentating on daily moves.
Why have not more people cracked on to like the way to invest? Like, it's actually hilarious how many people freak out, pull their money out. Like,
because people would be out of jobs, like traders and brokers, like their whole job is to buy and sell shares.
Right.
So they need to be seen to be like to their clients, oh, don't worry, we sold shares before the crash or we could see it coming or like,
It's all a big sales pitch.
Yeah. So anyway, Japan started off first. They fell about 20% overall over the last kind of week or so.
Is it still down?
No. So let me get to the.
Oh, sorry.
We're just setting the scene.
Ruining the punchline.
So Japan started, that was their worst day since 1987. So
why didn't I buy shares? Like, honestly, I need to be so much more onto it.
I love that that's your reaction. That's great. Bitcoin then fell. Gold did really, really well because gold is considered like a safe haven. So everyone either sells their stocks, put it into cash or into gold. Tech stocks in America, so all the large tech companies were hit. US stock market, UK, everything was.
When you say it was hit, what was it hit with? People pulling their money out?
People freaking out. People going, oh my God, I'd rather hold cash. This could be a really, really massive correction or really massive fall. So people freak out.
Oh my God. Did you take any money out?
No.
Emily, Would you have taken money out if you hadn't invested? Good girl. Oh. Wait, come over to the microphone because no one can hear you.
Okay.
This is our lovely producer, Emily. One moment, we're just going to
Ask the question again.
Yeah, okay. So, Emily, if you have any shares invested, would you have sold them when all of this shit was going down?
No, because I'm investing for the long term. But I
have taught you well.
a question, and this might be really stupid. Why did
Sorry, you have to rephrase that question and take out that this might be, you know what this podcast stands for?
I have a very important question that is completely valid. Why did all of these stock markets not crash but dip in the first place?
Yes. So there was some unemployment data that came out of the US that showed that unemployment was at a 3-year high. So there was like economic data in the US and everyone's like, oh my goodness, unemployment's super high. The US is going to head into a recession. That was one point. The second point was that the US stock market had done really well. Like we were talking about Nvidia, that was up like over 150%. You know, all these stocks have done really, really well. And so people are like, oh, is this the top? You know, like, is this, should we take some money out? Should we take some profits? But it was mainly around the US heading into recession. It's the biggest stock market. It's the biggest economy. When America sneezes, the world
It's not on their
gets a
face.
flu. Yeah. So that
Emily,
was,
can you
was the
come back
starting
to this
point.
microphone, please? Thank you for that explanation.
No worries.
Emily, I would love to know if you have any more questions or thoughts on that.
What happens, because now that we're coming up, are we now back to normal, or has that had a knock-on effect?
You could be out of a job.
Step aside.
Stunning. Okay, you can take the day off, Emily.
You can go now.
We're actually done here.
Yes. So everything is pretty much rebounded now. Not back up to where it was, but it's pretty much close. It's so close. Like the S&P 500 was up 2.5% yesterday, so on Thursday, and that was its best day since 2022. So things are looking right back up there. The S&P 500 is now 12% up this year.
So, okay,
So it's
and
like-
when you say up this year, this is from the start of the year. It's nothing to do with the last
No.
week.
So it was going up like this, and then it fell a bit, and then it's now back. It's not right back up to where it was the stock market started falling on Friday, so it's not back up to where it was, a few weeks ago, but it's pretty much there. It's like,
So
it's not concerning is what I'm saying.
So
It's
what
like-
I'm hearing is basically I napped for a few days and
Yeah.
I've missed the Boxing Day sale.
Yeah.
Damn.
Monday was the biggest on sale day. Tuesday, everything was pretty much back to full price.
Fuck.
Yeah. And
Oh
then
my
everything's
God.
just keep going up and up. I mean, I don't know what today's going to do, but it looks pretty good. Everyone's pretty positive.
Like, how do I get
It's so
prepared for a
crazy how people
sale?
can be like, oh my God, the world's ending, to like, oh, it's fine.
So
it's
dramatic.
Like, so dramatic. It's like, just take a chill pill. But that's markets for you. Honestly, this is what happened. It won't be the last time this happens. We'll probably see it happen again. And it's just a case of like realizing how quickly stock markets came back. It was literally the next day.
Do you know what I think we need to do? We need to start a star chart or something. So every time it has a shitter and then it rebounds, we put a star on.
Good idea.
So that
Red star, green star.
Yeah, so that every time that we're like panic, 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 so say COVID happened again, we look at the star chart and we
Yeah.
think, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily COVID, and touch wood, that never happens again. But the point is that things will always happen. And unless the world is literally ending, they
Yeah.
will bounce back again.
And the reason, so the Japanese stock market fell 12%. The reason people panic and take their money out is because they think it's going to fall further and they want to almost protect.
Which is like counterintuitive because then it falls even further, right?
So
Like as soon as people are taking money out, it's like,
But if you were onto it, say, and you sold your shares just before it crashes and then bought it back right at the bottom, you'd be amazing. But that never happens. You can never know when these things are going to happen and what's going to trigger them, what's going to trigger a sudden movement in the stock market like this. So what people will do is they'll probably wake up, see the stock market's down, well, the Japanese one down 12%, take their money out. Then they wake up the next day, it's gone back up. And if you'd done nothing, you would have been way better off. But now you've pulled your money out at the low and now you're going to put it back in at the high because the market's rebounded. So it's honestly, don't feel like you have to do something.
I reckon there's
Yeah.
so much
It's psychology. It's
fragile male finance bro ego where they're like, I can time the market.
Oh,
It's
totally.
like that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? Because if everyone had the view of a long-term investing plan,
Yeah.
which is like proven time and time and time again to be the way to do it,
And even if the situation went on for a few months, you know, say we did have a bad Monday, Tuesday, next week was quite bad, and you were still investing through those months, and then it started rebounding again, you'd still be in a better position. You know, you're investing for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years. You're not
I
investing
actually think
for
this is a really good time to bring up dollar cost averaging again, because this was a concept that I definitely took a while to understand, and it's actually really simple. Basically, it's the idea that you can like average the price, so you can like benefit when the price is low, and you can also like
you get more for your money if you're putting in $1 a week.
Can I do this? I feel like because for some reason every time I feel, I don't know why, but let me try. Okay, tell me if I do this right. Let's just say you're investing $100 a week for a year. So it's like every Monday. Wow, by the way, imagine how much you've had invested. So every week you put $100 in on a Monday.
Yeah.
Let's just to keep it super easy, say every single week the price goes up $1 or down $1. So say it's like week 1, the share price is 50. The next week, the share price is 60. The next week, the share price is 70, 80, and so on. And then sometimes it starts going back in the opposite direction. Then it goes back up again. So it's like the idea of
$10.
Well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that like if you're consistently buying over time, you get to like that the price that you pay averages out rather than trying to like buy at certain times. It means that when it has dropped, like for example, if you were still investing across the last, you know, couple of weeks, you would have got some really amazing deals because you were investing when it was low. And it means that when it's like kind of middle or it's high, that all averages out.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like, does that make sense? Come here, Emily, if you don't understand.
And so if you're $100, say it's $20 a share, so you end up buying 5 shares. As that price increases, you can only afford to purchase a lower number of shares. So that you're $100 and you're buying shares that are $30, you can buy less. You're buying $40, you buy less. So then when the share price drops to $10, you can now buy more. So then when it rebounds again, you've got that bigger pool of shares that you bought at a lower price. You've got a greater number.
This is the stuff that confuses me because you're thinking about the difference in the share price and the number of shares it means you can buy, which always like...
Because your $100 is made up of a number of shares and the price. If the price is high, the number of shares is low. If the price is low, the number of shares is high.
But it's kind of irrelevant.
No, because you're buying shares. So then if you can now buy 100 shares at a lower price rather than 20 at a higher price, when those 100 shares, the share price doubles, you've got massive amounts of money because you've got 100 shares rather than...
Would it make more sense in that case to do this on a weekly basis, to invest on a weekly basis? Or because I like to just invest monthly and then forget about it. And then I've been like, okay, I've done my bit. But with dollar cost averaging, would it be better to go in every week and invest a certain amount of money?
No. It's like you don't know. It's more just about being consistent and regular from a psychological point of view. It's like if weekly works for you, that's great. Admittedly, though, if you were investing each month, you wouldn't have got Monday's low prices unless you were investing on that day. So you're always going to be missing out on cheap prices at some point. But who knows, the next month, share prices might be lower. It's more the trend, you're not trying to like get the day, if that makes sense, of the low prices. If these prices then fell again and stayed low, then when you next deposit your monthly amount, you'll get those prices.
So what you were saying before is it's like the lower the price of the share, the more you can get with your money.
Yeah. The further your money goes in terms of what you can purchase. It's like going into a clothing store and saying you've got $100 and you can buy 2 dresses that are $50. If those 2 dresses were now $25, you can buy 4 dresses. And then you walk out of the store, that shop then goes back to putting those dresses at full price at $50. And you're like, woohoo, I've got $200 worth of dresses. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Basically, I think also, Emily, I know exactly what you mean because it's like, okay, well, if it's changing all the time, should I just invest every day? Because then it means I get...
But then every minute, every second, that's impossible.
I think it's more just like the premise of it and the main kind of key takeaway is...
Ignore what the stock market does.
That's kind of it.
That's kind of...
It's not so... And regularly invest regardless of what it's doing, opposed to needing to be like, getting all of the deals.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's just being aware like this stuff happens all the time, but over the long term, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years, however long you're investing, the stock market goes up. So it's like you just need to remember that even though there'll be days, months, weeks when it's down, over the long term it goes up.
If you're listening to this, and by the way, this isn't to shame you, I'm just curious, if you did make a decision to sell, I'd love to hear what was going through your head, or like how much you sold and how you feel now, because I think it's really interesting to learn. You know, it's fine, like unless you've lost millions of dollars, maybe you won't want to be messaging, but like say it was a few $100s and you're like, oh, I did it because this is how I felt. It's just it's good to reflect on that, I think, because and actually every time that I don't make a decision to sell when it's low, I'm so proud of myself in hindsight. It's kind of like not acting on impulse in any situation. It's like, give it a minute, take a breather, and make a decision when you're feeling a bit more calm and settled rather than like in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. So New Zealanders are leaving the country, Soph.
I'm not surprised.
I know.
Sorry, New Zealand. Love you. But.
I know. Home will always be home. But New Zealanders are flocking like birds to Australia, flying across the ditch.
Okay,
it's concerning for a little old New Zealand.
I know. I mean, I did this when I was 21 or 22 because it's so hard to get.
Yeah.
I think pay and like living in that part of the world is really expensive, but for some reason salaries don't reflect it, and Australian pay is just so much better. It's the same over here. Like it's way more expensive to live. Actually, it's not really. I wouldn't say salaries generally across the board are better, but Australia is one of those ones where it's like it's still expensive, but
and it's known for having good salaries. It's known for paying well. And yes, it's expensive, but it's all relative. It's like if your rent's a little bit more expensive, but you're getting paid more. It's like,
why is that not changed? Or what are your thoughts on why companies in Australia, I know it's a huge generalization, but why do they pay more than New Zealand salaries?
Better economy. The economy's doing better. It's all government policy as well. But in New Zealand, when we came out of the pandemic, we ratcheted up our interest rates.
I don't know if that's a word.
Ratcheted up. Yeah, ratcheted up.
No, babe.
No? Okay.
Hold on.
Well, ratcheted.
Oh, ratchet. Like ratchet.
Yeah, ratcheted up.
Oh my God, ratchet. You're right. How bizarre.
Yeah, ratcheted up.
In slang or informal use, ratchet. I don't like it, but we can use it.
So anyway, New Zealand ratcheted up. It's ratcheted. Oh my God, it's up its interest rates post pandemic, which led to higher mortgage rates, recession, all of that. So we've had a bit of a tough few years, and Australia didn't do that as aggressively, and so they've almost had like a better economic situation post COVID. So that's meant that companies are doing better, people are spending, all of that. So I guess they haven't had the effects as much as we have of like a cost of living crisis, inflation, all of that. So people are like, cool, let's go there. We get paid more, we get a better life.
I have seen a lot of people on social media being like, move to Sydney.
It's at an 11-year high.
Whoa.
The number of people going. 1% of the population has left to go to Australia.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah.
How many people is
That's
that?
about 50,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, which is an 85% increase on 2022. So these are 2023 figures.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get paid an equivalent of 30% more over there.
Yeah, I'm kind of not surprised.
Why did we move here?
What are we doing?
Sophie.
Nah, I was about to say, can everyone move here instead of Australia?
Yeah.
But I think that's quite scary for the New Zealand economy, for New Zealand businesses. Like it's already pretty quiet there, like in terms of bars and hospitality and like, you know, gyms having enough people to have memberships. And like, it kind of worries me a bit.
And it's so difficult to attract people back in. So for example, like it's so hard to attract not only like locals and residents back to the country, but then let alone people from other countries and immigrants and, you know, to help fuel the economy. Like we're seeing it in the UK at the moment, like all the anti-racism protests, immigration protests.
But that's almost the opposite of like what.
That's because Britain opened its doors.
Oh, for economy.
For immigrants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so now there's all these riots of like, so I mean, it's slightly different. I'm kind of just marrying the two up, but I'm just saying like you have to do a lot of incentivizing to get people back It's really, it's harder. It's easier to keep people than it is to win them back, if that makes sense.
It's kind of like customers.
Yeah. It's like
If
a
someone
Vodafone.
cancels something,
Yeah. It's much easier to keep a customer happy, give them a bit
Yeah.
of a discount, than go and win them over from.
So all these 1% of New Zealanders moving to Australia might never come home is kind of the point. It's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, maybe our
Yeah.
population will decrease, our economy will be.
And to be honest, economies go in cycles. Like there'll be a period of time when maybe Australia doesn't do so well, and then we get a whole lot of Aussies coming to New Zealand. But right now, it's not very good. Anyway, speaking of people moving countries as well, the UK is one of the worst places in terms of tax, and people are leaving the UK.
Is this all because of Brexit?
No, new Prime Minister. Prime Minister has put in rules.
I thought we had high hopes for the new Prime Minister I thought that the whole point was people were kind of happy about it.
Yeah, the general population is obviously, that's why I got in, but it's more the higher end wealthy people are being hired.
Because it's a left government and it's the first time I've had someone
Yeah,
okay.
So
in a long time.
They're planning to scrap this like preferential tax treatment for preferential tax treatment for rich foreign residents. So there's this thing in the UK called, if you're non-dom, so you're non-domiciled, you live in the UK.
Sorry, what is domiciled?
Like living, like where you come from. Like we're domiciled in the UK at the moment.
What is that word?
Non-dom.
Non-dom. Honestly, when you said that, I thought we were talking about dominatrix.
Domicile.
I was like, they're non-dom. They're
Like
not the
where you-
dominants.
So I'm a non-dom.
You're a non-dom. Really? You're passive.
The country that a person treats as their permanent home.
Okay.
So you are a non-dom.
No, but I think that this is dom now. I'm now dom, the UK, right? Because I'm permanently here.
No, but you're not.
So it's if you're not born somewhere.
Yeah. You have a substantial connection. You live in. You treat it as your actual home, but it's not.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So any internationals that are living
Foreigners are
here.
effectively like non-dom.
So and are they being higher taxed?
yes, yeah.
Oh, well, but that's so stupid because isn't the whole point that like because of Brexit, there's hardly any like diversity of people from overseas, from a talent perspective, etc.
And usually
That would just
non-doms or wealthy non-doms will have
like I really think
assets elsewhere. So you buying your house in New Zealand, you're going to be coming under this tax.
damn.
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
It means that because you're non-dom,
Just say you're not a permanent resident. Like stop being annoying.
you're non-domiciled, but you will have assets overseas, so they'll be captured under the UK tax treatment. Really?
No.
Yeah.
So if I
This
was
is why
to
I put mine in a trust.
no. So if I buy a house, I'm going to get absolutely effed
If you
over.
then sell it, because we don't have
Only
capital
if we're
gains.
living here. So what if I
Yeah.
bought it and then I held on to it for 10 years?
Yeah, and then you move home.
Yeah.
And then you change to being
So I have to invest for the long term in
you
everything.
become a dom in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because you're
got it.
domiciled in New Zealand. And you're a resident and
Whoa.
all that, yeah.
That's a bit shit.
Yeah. So you just have to be a bit strategic. So yes.
What other tax, not cuts, but
There's another one.
what?
There's another one. Possibly going to be a raise on capital gains tax here as well.
You made it look like this was an exciting
so
thing.
this
That is a really
this-
shit thing.
No, so this is the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So the Chancellor of the let me get here. So the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So this is the person that manages the finances of the nation, so of the country. So she is a female, Rachel Reeves,
Shit, yeah.
the first female to ever manage the UK finances.
Can we get her on the podcast?
And what are we, 2024?
Fuck, that's cool.
So that's like women have not been trusted with managing money, let alone managing a country's money until 2024. And Rachel Reeves is
Rachel Reeves, she sounds
changing
cool.
the-
But
yeah.
hold on, so is
Oh,
Rachel
sorry.
Reeves
But now
putting-
she's introducing an increase in capital gains tax. So I'm kind of like, Rachel,
Oh, Hon.
come on.
Which, by the way, apparently Hon's not cool here.
No.
Apparently we need to get that rid of our
It's not
vocab.
cool in New Zealand either.
I know, but I kind of say it facetiously like Hon, not Hun. Like I don't really like Hun.
Yeah.
Hon's kind of funny, but maybe I just need to get rid of it. So sorry. So Rachel is basically,
It's potentially going to increase the tax on capital gains.
but what is cap for what? Property?
Property, yeah. Stocks, property.
Oh, so anything.
Yeah.
So does it mean if you get an increase in your investment, any kind of investment,
You
You
might.
pay more
I mean,
tax.
it's not yet. In
does that
town.
mean that what if we
and
were,
inheritance tax? So the UK is going to be a great place.
hold on,
to
wait.
live.
So let's just say,
Sorry.
so say I was investing in the US stock market, but I was based here as a
I
non-dom.
don't know. Don't ask me that.
Okay. No, but I was
I
just
don't know
going to
about
say,
US.
but I wonder if it's investing in the UK
If you're
stock
buying
market.
property in the UK, if you're buying property in
Yeah.
the UK and you sell it, you have to pay capital gains, and that's going to increase New Zealand's like one of the only countries you don't pay capital gains on
And
property.
capital gains, just for anyone that doesn't know, is if you sell it and you've made a profit, you don't have to pay tax on the profit.
Yeah. It's the change in the value. So
That's probably why New Zealand property is like so booming.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to buy property
but
there.
who is going to be the politician that's going to bring that in?
Oh,
in New
surely
Zealand?
they'd get kicked out.
Well, they wouldn't get the votes. They wouldn't. Yeah.
Oh my God,
So
great.
it's such a hard thing. It's kind of like you're stuck in a rock and a hard place.
Mm.
And lastly, Google and Meta have been doing secret deals.
I saw this in your notes. I didn't read it. All I saw was secret deal and I thought, what?
So Google and Meta are like rivals. They're
Mm-hmm.
like two of the biggest internet social media companies.
I feel like the other day we were talking about how people have started, like the searches for TikTok have overtaken searches in Google, and how the term Googler in 10 years might be dead and people will say TikToker.
Like
so
when I
wouldn't
went
you
to
say
Sa-
TikTok would be up there as a rival? Or is it
Yeah,
because
sorry,
they're
US.
private?
These are US.
Oh,
TikTok's
sorry.
private and it's Chinese. But yes, when I went to Sardinia, I was like, best beaches in Sardinia. And I searched on TikTok.
That
Best
honestly
restaurants in Sardinia.
shocks me.
Yeah. I just Google, I'd be like, oh, there's probably people that aren't like me that are going.
No,
you know,
no,
you get the,
I'm
you
like-
get the generic TripAdvisor kind of.
I just don't know why I'm like such a late adopter with that kind of thing. Like I was like the last person to get Facebook out of all my friends. It's so weird. But so, because like, you know, a year ago, if we'd said get on TikTok, Vic would have been like, oh.
Whereas now
You're obsessed.
I'm like,
Would you in your spare time when you're like trying to mindlessly scroll,
yeah.
it would be TikTok over Instagram, right?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But I also get a lot of news from TikTok. It's the fastest place to find news. I mean, some of it's fake news.
Emily, what are you? Instagram or TikTok? Oh, yeah. YouTube girl. Yeah. I love that.
Quite good. We've got someone each in the team covering each. Anyway, Google and Meta. So I'm not sure if you remember, like years ago, there was Mark Zuckerberg went in front of Congress and he was like, just to take a bit more ownership around how toxic social media is for children. And so there's a ban that they can't advertise or market to children under the age of 18. But what has been leaked or found out is that Meta had a secret project with Google to advertise Instagram on YouTube to 13 to 17-year-olds.
No.
Yeah. So it was kind of
so what? So they were
skirting
kind of-
around. So 13 and 17-year-olds would go onto YouTube and watch YouTubes and they'd see advertisements for Instagram that
For
Yeah.
Instagram or for products on Instagram?
for Instagram. So
Why would Google?
it was a way to get around.
Oh, sorry, because YouTube is not owned by Google.
Yeah. YouTube's owned by Google.
So why would they want to help
Instagram's
Instagram? Why would
money.
Meta and Google want to help each other? Isn't the whole point that they're like
Yeah,
rivals?
so this is why it's so weird because it's like, hang on, you're rivals and you've been like fierce competitors, but obviously Meta can see that that younger age group's heading to TikTok. So they're like desperately trying to get that younger age group, but they're not legally allowed to target them on their own platform. So they're like, let's use another platform. So it's pretty dodgy.
Also, how would they have even established a relationship good
Yeah.
enough to even have that conversation?
Yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of? You know, in Love Actually, when like the American and UK president have that like little moment.
Oh, over that girl?
Yeah,
That
that's
lady,
kind of
yeah.
what this sounds like. It's
Yeah.
almost like they're like, we hate each other, but like, let's figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Even though Hugh Grant was like,
Fuck you to
America.
Billy Bob.
but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even imagine like two
That
very
conversation.
powerful people in such enormous companies that are in such rivalry.
Just money. Meta going to Google, we'll pay you billions of dollars. to
But wouldn't they
advertise.
just be like, okay, let's leak that to the press, and then they'll go get
And they
absolutely
lost
effed over?
billions of dollars, and I don't know. Yeah, what's that phrase? Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. I think it's kind of like this. But anyway, it's pretty bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So
God, they have no shame, do
No.
they?
yeah, and it was all disguised. It was called like Unknown and like Project. You know, real
Oh,
vague
God.
kind of. It wasn't like project to target 13 to 17-year-olds. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very smoke and mirrors. So
I just feel
Be
like
quite
as a
interesting too.
parent in the current environment, it would be like just minefields everywhere. Like, how do we protect our children from like subliminal messaging and like, I don't know, there's just so much that you can't control. And then when you have some of the biggest companies in the world being that deceitful, it's just like, shit.
but I mean, even if they fine
I guess they can both pay the fines, right? They're kind of like, whatever, fine us.
Oh, I mean, Meta makes $40 billion a year. So fine us $40 billion and it's
like slap
1 year,
us on the bum. We don't care.
it's like such big dick energy.
Yeah.
It's like, don't tell us what to do because we'll just pay our way out of it. Fine us, slap us on the wrist. We'll keep doing it.
That's what I meant. Slap us on the wrist, not us. I didn't mean to make it sexual.
Yeah, you did kind of like
Sorry,
lean over and show your ass.
It looked like
too.
I was trying to fart or something.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my news.
What a great episode. God, that was interesting. How long? That was quite a long one. Let's do a poll actually on Spotify and see. Can you let us know if you would prefer us to keep the Curve Weekly shorter? Because we used to do the Curve Weekly was like, Vic's like me.
I would.
No, but like in terms of the amount of like the time we speak for, we used to keep it to like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. This is quite a bit longer. So can you just, if we put a poll, can you just put your feedback? Like, is it a case of you would rather it just be the length? Like, for example, there's a lot of news this week. There was a lot going on. Is it fine for it to be a bit longer or should we just keep it shorter? So
Keep
vote
it punchier.
Yeah, vote like punchier or don't mind.
Yeah.
We'll put that as like a poll. Do we have any other fun announcements or are we?
No.
We've got the world's biggest investing club, an event, like sort of an initiation welcome this week actually for our founding members. I know this is a bit shit because there'll be a lot of people listening who are not founding members and you'll be like, what? So if you want to know and be like kind of the next to find out and access the platform, we'll put a link in the podcast show notes that you can just join the community and you'll definitely hear when the next like chance to join is. But for anyone who is a founding member, just keep an eye on your email because we're doing, there's like
A little welcome.
a little kind of like, it's like a welcome to the club this Wednesday. So actually
fun
like
club.
tomorrow. Hopefully you've got the email already. Anyway, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you
Only
did
a good
hate
one.
it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.